no, no, hey, no, 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 hey, hey, no, hey, no, no, hey, no, no.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Going Uptown. And this is your host, Uptown Browne. Today, I am so blessed to have on my show today veterans in our community. I have Sister Brown, Brother Haywood Fennell, and Brother Terrance Yancy as my guests today. But first, I want to dedicate this show to my grandfather, Ralph F. Brown Jr. My grandfather, Ralph F. Brown Jr., served in the 272nd Field Artillery Battalion of the Massachusetts National Guard, which was an all-African American unit during the Korean War. He continued to work as a civilian with the Air Force after his time in the National Guard. Following separation from military service, he continued his relationship with the military, and he was employed in Hanscom Air Force Base. Service to his country became service to the community. He was president of the Dorchester Allied Neighborhood Association and the commander of Mattapan's William E. Carter Post. In addition, he served as the president of the 272nd Veterans Association and the Organization of Afro-American Veterans. He was the action officer for the Ward 15th Committee and Dorchester representative of the City of Boston's Mayor's Advisory Committee under the late Thomas Menino. I just want to dedicate my grandfather. He worked very hard in this community, and he served a lot of veterans. Granddad, the show's for you. Now, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Going Uptown. This is your host, Uptown Browne. For many years, veterans and military pushing past their own physical and mental limits in order to defeat their enemy. Many black veterans suffered more than their white counterparts, and they was basically out to dry during war. But today, we have 3 veterans who persevered during their time of service and served their country with honor. First, let me introduce to you Ms. Elenor Brown, Haywood Fennell,
Thank you.
and Brother Terrance Yancy. And I would like to start off the show by asking, what did you guys do before entering the military? Sister Elenor?
Well, I was actually in high school. I went in right after. I went into service right after I got out of high school. I was just called to service, and that's what I wanted to do. My dad was in the service as well, Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay, Brother Haywood.
I don't really remember what I did. I know I worked a little bit, for my dad. He had a club in New York, and then I went in the military. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought maybe I'd go in the military and come out and use a GI Bill to go to school. That's what I do anyhow, I'll go to school.
And Brother Yancy.
Well, after school, I went into the military. Before that, I worked with my father. He had a construction job, and I worked very hard, just giving him a helping hand. And also, I worked at the Boys Club and the YMCA, teaching the young ones how to draw and paint, and working along with me.
Okay, so once you got enlisted into the military, how was your first experiences? What did you have to go through?
Okay, my first experience was getting off the plane and looking at the area and wow, what a difference. And the second thing is meeting the people and the children. And I want you to know, we're all the same. We're just working together.
Okay.
After I go on off the base, it reached a point that all the kids was waiting for me outside the base. And then I started drawing and hand out paper, pencils, and watercolor paint to do painting in the village.
And where were you stationed at?
I was stationed over in Korea.
Korea. Okay. Now, was you part of the 272nd like my grandfather, or?
No. 347, I was with the supply and service.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed the people over there. And so when I was in the village, when I had all the kids around me, the teachers and the principal, they all see me and their family with the kids, and they asked me if I was willing to come to their school to teach in school and outside.
Come inside.
Yeah.
Right, inside. Brother Haywood, how about your first experience?
My first experience in the military was kind of tough. You know, I didn't really want to follow orders. You know, I was always looking for shortcuts in the military, but there weren't any. But I would be looking for them, you know. And, you know, I was able to put it together. You know, went to School of Information in Fort Slocum, New York. And I studied public information, be a writer. And I learned photography while I was in the military as well. So that was my first experience as a photojournalist, if you will.
Okay.
You know, in the military.
And was you stationed anywhere?
Oh yeah, I was stationed Fort Greely, Alaska, where they had a girl behind every tree with no trees. You know, buffalo running on the base. Got a helicopter ride to see the wolves running in packs in Alaska. I was stationed at Fort Greely. We had the mountain climbing school there for Rangers, and also it was a test site because when the military, at least the Army, buys equipment, they have to test it in cold weather, normal weather, and hot weather. Hot weather, they go down to Panama because of the conditions down there. And then I was in Fort Meade, Maryland, George E. Meade, Maryland. I was stationed at Fort Slocum, New York, which is in Queens. Then I went to Okinawa, you know, and I worked in the studio, the radio station, where they we had a watch service, and we would take the stories off the watch service from all over the world, and we had translators, Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Laotian, Korean, and we would write the stories and slant the stories, made them more pro-American. Some people call it propaganda. You know, and we had an editor that would look at it, and then he would approve it or tell us to go back and slant it a little more. We used words like free, communist dominated, you know, and we would have it translated, and at night they would beam it into these countries. I was in a psychological warfare battalion when I was in Okinawa, yeah.
Wow. Sister Eleanor.
My first experience, I guess my first experience when I got off the bus in basic training, and that was a pretty wild experience. I'll never forget that experience because it showed me how tough I was. I knew I could always, you know, hang with the guys, but that experience really, you know, hold it home for me because I saw how fast they drove. I didn't, but so that was my experience, and that was the common thread for me throughout the time I was in the military because I tried everything and I did everything, and I always tried to do it, you know, at my best. You know, I never let anything that slow me down, and I still do that today. You know, my job in the military, I was more in the signal battalion. Okay. So I traveled a lot in Europe. So I work with computers, mainframe computers, and that's my job to this day. I work with computers, you know, here at UMass. So it was a great experience for me because, you know, I look at it and I see where I came from and where I am and how much growth I had. I mean, that was, you know, at the beginning, that's when my life began. And I tell anybody, if you can go into the military and, you know, do a job that you really love, it will follow you through life.
Yes.
And you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. And you used your gift, and I mean, you do great work with computers to this day. Yeah. Now, how was it being a woman in the military during the times that you served?
You know, it was a little tough. You know, it was a guys, you know, army. You know, I was in the army. It was a guys' army, so you know, I didn't have to really prove. But like I said, I could hang with the best. But you know, there were those, you know, the mentality that I was a female, and you know, they make it harder for you. They want to see how see how fast you can drop. Okay. You know, and when you didn't drop when they wanted you to drop, then you know you had issues. But you know, I overcame it all. I really did.
So, what's some of the things that they did in particular to try to make you drop?
Oh my gosh. You know, so extend PT. You know how you have to do low crawling and you hugging trees and you know those little 5-mile marches and you know just
with the packs on.
Yeah, with the pack. Yeah, with the packs on and. You know, and you know, when like you could hang with them, that's when you earned your respect.
Yes.
I saw that you earned respect when you could prove that you could hang in there, you know, and not cry and you know, do what they expected you to do. You know, so yeah.
Did you see any combat?
I didn't see any combat. When I went in, it was peacetime. Peacetime. And that was in the 80s. Yeah. So I didn't have. I went to the field, but I didn't have to. It was just more training. You know, that the period of time that I was in. So I was, you know, I didn't get to go to combat, but I went to the woods a lot.
Especially in Europe, there was a lot of woods and stuff in Europe.
I went to a lot of woods.
Because I remember being in Germany, 85, 86, you know, there was a lot of woods. Yeah. And I remember my experience over there being a military brat, like, you know, just seeing so many green woods and stuff and enjoying the life on the Air Force Base. I really enjoyed that.
Some great bases, a lot, great education,
yes.
Which is another thing that I got an opportunity to do, go to school, you know, so yeah.
And Mr. Yancy, did you see any combat in Korea?
No, I did not.
No.
I was warned by the community that they were setting up a little trap for me. And so when I was coming to school, teaching this school, they pulled me aside and said, no, come this way. And they pulled back, like a rice rug, and had spikes sticking all up. And I said, wow. And like I said, I had the experience, Soldier of the Month over in Korea. And they gave me a lot of respect, and I respect them.
And we do have some clips of some of the stuff that happened to you while you was in Korea, correct?
Yes.
Can we go to the clips, please?
Sure.
And now, can you explain this picture right here?
Okay, this is in the village.
Uh-huh.
And this is the way the huts are.
Excuse me, this is a picture you drew?
Painted.
Painted, that's what I mean.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did a lot of painting, and the kids enjoy painting, and I enjoy the kids. Unfortunately, there was one child in our class and had lost a leg and was sitting way back in the class. And I says, what's wrong with Miss Lee? And they said, she lost a leg. And I says, okay. I called her up in front, take a front seat. And I said, I'm not gonna let you sit back there. Sit closer to us. And do you know the children in that class are crying? He says, we didn't know anybody cared. I said, well, I do care. And I want to thank all of you for letting me know.
And this picture right here, you was getting one of your awards during
Yes.
this time? And which award was you receiving?
For being an outstanding teacher over in Korea. And like I said, the villages, they all came out to the ceremony that was given. And I was really pleased.
God be the glory.
Right.
It's great.
Yes.
And this is the award that they was
Respect
given.
for.
Yeah. This is the award that was given me for being an outstanding teacher.
Mm.
And it was giving me one of these situations of two countries, friendly countries, getting along and working together. I want to thank you so very much. And I said to him, well, thank you.
Okay.
This is nice.
And that is me there with some of the children.
Check you out. I like your uniform.
Well, I can imagine yours. And one more thing I would like to say
Yes,
for the
sir.
program. I'd like to thank all the veterans that work so hard, and especially in this community. We used to go to McDonald's, and you see a lot. And guess what I say to them? Thank you, soldier,
Thank you.
for doing a great job and doing a great job in our community.
Right.
And one thing you did neglect to mention too, you was in a book.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little something about your?
Okay. Afro-American Artists in America. And it was published by,
That's
The-
so they could get that.
yeah, it was published by the City of Boston Library. And when I found out, I asked about it. He said, well, we'll send one to you. And so here it is.
Now look at it.
Yes, you can.
Wow. And some of your name and
Yes.
information is in this book?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Let me show you the page. Here it is.
Sure is.
2 pages wrote about me. The exhibits I had, the awards that I received. Like I said, I used to teach with the Boys Club and the YMCA, the little ones. And I see some of them now working at the BHA. And another one, he was a singer. And he all said, Mr. Yancy, thank you. So all I can say to everybody, continue working with the community. And veterans, God bless you for the job you have done.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to thank you also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yancy.
So once you finish serving and return to life here in America and after bases and stuff, start to do. Let's start with you, Sister Elenor.
Oh gosh, I have to be honest. The transition for me was pretty difficult coming out of the military because it was almost like a culture shock coming out of that space, being rigid and being focused on what you needed to do each day. You know, from getting up in the morning, putting your uniform on, and spit shining your boots and making sure and to the coming. They call the real world, so yeah, it was difficult for me at first. So it took me a while. It really did. It took me a while to get it together and, try to really figure out what direction I wanted. I knew I had experience. I knew I had job skills, but where did I want to go? So what I ended up doing is I went back to school. I went through the Veterans program at UMass Boston.
Okay.
And that gave me a solid foundation. It allowed me to put my feet on the ground and gave me a direction. And it's a great program, and they still run it to this day. And any veteran that is out there and they need a little bit of guidance, or not even guidance, that they need something that can keep them focused and put their mind mentally in a space where they feel like they can go somewhere out here, and not have all that, that rigidity behind you, and you have to focus on what it is you need to do for yourself. Go through this program, and they work with you and they help you, so that's what helped. And like I said, to this day, I work at UMass, and I do my job.
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
And do you have any information about how to get in contact with them?
Gus St. Silver is the gentleman that runs the program at UMass. He knows anything you want to know about veterans and services and, you know, how to get tuition paid for, get in contact with him at UMass Boston.
And can you spell his name for us, for the audience?
Yeah, gosh, don't make me name up. But, yeah,
Augusto de Silva.
Augusto de Silva.
Yeah.
Okay.
So look him up, yeah.
Okay. So, Brother Haywood, how was the transition like for you?
It was not good.
Mm.
No, it was really bad. It was very bad. I wasn't even able to talk for a long time about my experience. I found sought solace, drugs, became addicted, you know, because of some of the things that I experienced in the military.
Mm.
And I just couldn't talk about it with my wife. And so I took on another life, you know, that twisted and it started, and not who I was, but there was nothing at the time that I could do about that. And I found out that I wasn't alone. There were a lot of other veterans, that male and female, that experienced a lot of things in the military, you know, that it was very cruel.
Yeah.
You know, your white counterparts and things that they did and perceived themselves to be was a lie, you know. And I had never been arrested before, and I ended up started going to jail.
Mm.
You know, that was a part of me. I graduated from UMass in 2010, but it took me 28 years
to get out of that.
Because I didn't think I needed it, and then I thought I needed it. And, you know, it's a process of validating who you are and who you're not. You know, I've been involved in service work for veterans and advocating for veterans for quite some time, based on the fact that there are a lot of disparities in providing health care for our veterans, you know. And I worked with the late Dr. Joseph D. Warren at Northeastern University, the father of Seti Warren. He was a PhD professor in economics, and I talked with another veteran by the name of Ron Armstead about my concerns about how they were treating us. And he said, well, you have to do more than have a gut. You have to present facts.
Right.
So we were able to get funding from the Boston Public Health Commission, and we did a survey. We came back with a finding, and the finding was that because of the lack of cultural sensitivity by the VA hospital, the veterans don't trust the VA. So therefore, they would seek servicing into a private place instead of going to where they were qualified to go. So, you know, it took me a while to get to that point to want to really be a veteran, because so many years that I was telling people that I wasn't a veteran. You know, I wouldn't wear a hat like this. I wouldn't join the American Legion Post. But I do now.
Right.
So, you know, I'm working, helping veterans, and at the same time helping myself. You know, that's what I do. I'm across the Commonwealth now with people that I know. That includes Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Francisco Urena, and on the city level, Giselle Sterling. I'm outspoken, but everybody needs to speak.
Yes.
About the situation. You know, and I don't want to forget this, Tyree. One of the people that was very influential in helping me was your grandfather. You know, so I'm eternally grateful for that. Of course, there's been others, but I'm talking about one that could identify with what I was feeling without even saying it. You know, that was a big help for me, you know, to understand I could make a difference. You know, I've always heard people say, you know, you're too smart to use drugs, blah, blah, blah. You know, but I wasn't paying them any attention.
Yes.
Because that was my solace. That was what was keeping going.
Right.
You know, and in the process of doing that, you know, I had a family. They couldn't understand why I was living this life, and I couldn't explain it to them. But I can now.
Yes.
Through prayer, and not just my prayers, but prayers of other people have helped me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Brother Yancy, how was your experience?
My experience was a great one. Number one, by the grace of God, I was in different positions.
Okay.
Like when I was in the service over Korea, I worked with the community, worked with the churches, worked with the church, and they knew I was always there. Even a time when it was so cold in Korea, I used to take one of my students on base to raise money so they have some heat. And that was, like I said, as far as drugs, they call me a square because I didn't touch it. I didn't need it. The job was for the community. Over in Korea, the guys would used to say, Yancy, come on and have a drink. I says, okay, give me a Coke or a Pepsi. And that's the way it is. And my time was always busy in the community, in the church, even in Korea. And even now, I have opportunity. I had met this young man a long time ago, and I look up to him, who is always fighting for the community.
Yes.
And now, I'm doing the same.
You're on the same show, too.
On the same-
How about that? We're
Well-
on the same program
Well,
today.
guess what? God bless you.
Thank you,
God
too. I was
God bless both of
And-
you. Yes.
the name of your show.
My show.
Also,
Yeah.
I want to mention, there's veterans that have problems. And just so happen my position,
Yes.
I can reach out and try to help anybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Anytime they having problems with their housing,
Uh-huh.
with the VA, they said, the answer, we got one for you. Take
Okay.
this. And I go down and the veterans see me, and I says, you guys gonna just work with your manager? Manager, work with me. We can all work together,
Yeah.
try to solve this problem
Right.
for the veterans. And I said, by the way, you guys are veterans too.
Yeah.
So with me, I work with you. So now when I go down to different shelters or something for them, they recognize it. Yeah, here he comes.
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's good.
what I'm saying is, we all can work together for the veterans because they put their life on the line.
Yes.
Now it's up to us to reach out and help them.
them.
So I did not have with drugs, drinking. I was too busy working in the community and helping people in the shelters and things. So I thank God that I have the job so I can do that.
Thank God.
Was we believe, my family believe in working for the people. Even my mother, we used to get the house cleaned up here, there, helping the other people. So learn. All you got to do is reach out and try to help somebody. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a couple of words to the veterans. Veterans, hold on.
Yes.
We can all work together, and it don't need for you to look back. And thank you for your service.
Yes. And this is Going Uptown with your host, Uptown Browne. I just want to thank Brother Yancy, Brother Haywood, and Sister Elenor for being my guest. And I want to, most of all, thank you for all the veterans that went out there to serve for us. Because without you, I wouldn't be here now. And we're going to take a break. Be right back.
My name is Warren. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps January 11th, 72. And I got out in 74. I was short, so I became a tunnel rat. That meant I had to go underground to see what the Vietcong there. Plus we took over the villages and stuff, you know. It was war. Years and years I walked around. Don't know why I was having these dreams. Finding myself outside my house, in the yard, pouring down raining, like I was still in the war, sweating, clammy hands. I didn't know what it was. I got on drugs. I drunk myself a lot because I didn't want to go to sleep. Because the dreams would get worse and worse. And it took me a long while, to look for help. I went to the VA and I finally got me a primary doctor. They gave me a therapist. Worked for me, sent me to Coatesville Hospital. I stayed there for a couple months, for the drinking and the drugs. And I've been with my therapist almost over 6 years. He talked to you, diagnosis about how far PTSD you is. And I was on the ragged end, okay? And slowly but surely, he would diagnose about, oh, hey, you gotta do this, start doing this. You gotta start riding on buses again. You gotta start, go to the cemetery. I did all that. Walk at night. Start playing ball again. He taught me how to face PTSD. Because if you don't face it, it'll destroy you. And I wasn't doing it myself. But by him teaching me how to face it, you know what I mean? Gave me the right tools. Without him, I don't think I would have made it. You got to help yourself. That's what it's all about. So, you never get rid of PTSD. But you never get rid of it, but you know how to handle it. You know how to face it. You let it know that, hey, I'm not afraid no more. You know what I mean? The sweat, the dreams, no more sweats. No more end up outside, pouring down raining. No drinking, no drugging. Like I said, you reborn all over again. Don't be hard-headed. Oh, I'm a Marine. I can overcome everything. You're a human being. If you got the help at the VA, you're a veteran, go do this. Go get help. You fought for this country. Why can't this country do something for you?
And we are back. This is Going Uptown with your host, Uptown Browne. I am today by Sister Elenor Brown, Brother Haywood Fennell, and Brother Yancy. And I am just so happy to have y'all as my guests. And before we went to the little break, we was talking about Mr. Yancy and how he helping veterans with housing while they're having a hard time. If anybody was interested in getting in touch with you that's watching the show, how would they be able to get in touch with you to try with housing?
Well, if they're having problems, serious problems, all I have to do is dial 311.
311?
311. And they will send somebody out there to give them a helping hand. Because the city is willing and they have gratitude for the veterans. So I know they'll get out there and help them out.
Okay. And also before we left, Brother Haywood touched on a little bit about the PTSD that's going on.
PTSD?
Yes, PTSD. And what is PTSD for those who don't know what that is?
PTSD is a acronym for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
Post-traumatic stress disorder is PTSD. And it comes about through trauma, experiencing trauma and not knowing how to deal with it. And some of the symptoms are nightmares, can't sleep, antisocial, isolate a lot, not trust people. Some people take medication because of the different psychoses that are associated with PTSD. But one of the things that I want to say about PTSD, based on race relationships in the United States, and because of discrimination and segregation, etc., a lot of people go into the military, I think, already affected with post-stress, right? And as a direct result of that, when they get out, it's heightened, but it's contained, but they have it even wider now. For instance, police officers, a lot of them were in the military. And they get out of the military and they are not debriefed I don't believe about the, and to explain some of the reasons why they feel in the way that they feel.
Yes.
And they take on these jobs as first responders, police officers. So therefore, you know, their response to trauma that we see is completely different from one that's been debriefed and is getting help. You know, because they might have an episode to think that their lives are being threatened and pull out their gun and shoot. Mm-hmm. You know, the communications gap is expanded because they don't know how to talk to our young people. Now, so PTSD, post-stress, you know, is something that we have to deal with a little more. You know, post-stress is awful because it affects the family.
Yeah, and then most of the veterans that has PTSD is either
post-traumatic stress
disorder is out there on the streets and end up being homeless, and then instead of help for them, put them in like a mental health place that helps them or give them an apartment, most of them get locked up.
Well, here's the thing about that, you know, Tyree, that's what I was telling you, such a broad topic to speak about. If you're not getting any post-traumatic stress disorder treatment, then they put you in a house. That house very well could be because we have not been addressing some of the treat themselves symptoms like drinking or smoking cocaine or injecting drugs or taking. And so because we're not addressing that, then that person might very well do and take an overdose. This is not to say that they would die at that time, but if they continue to do this, they may end up, apartments become a tomb because they're found dead in there.
Correct.
You know, and also we just need to sit down and understand the impact of what's going on with our veterans, male and female, black, when they do not get the attention that they need based on the fact that they were in the military. Whether they were in combat or not, they are combat trained, combat ready. I'm not a combat veteran, but I had a gun in the armory that was in my name in case they wanted to send me in country. And at that time, they were sending them there for 90 days. And to the right of our barracks was the morgue. And they were shipping in the bodies from the country, and you could smell the formaldehyde in the air every day. So you don't have to actually be in combat to get post-stress. Yeah. Just the fact that you might get, the fact that you see these rubber bags with these bodies in it, the fact that when you go down into the village that you might have a racial confrontation and you have to fight. That makes you susceptible to having post-traumatic stress syndrome or disorder. Yes. Okay?
Yeah, not only that, you have to remember too, as female, you have to worry about sexual assault, unwanted, you know, sexual
and the verbal assaults too.
And verbal assaults too. So those things weigh heavily too, as far as PTSD goes.
Yeah, because I know, like, when you say that some of the male counterparts trying to drain you out, you know, that could be very psychological.
Yeah, it is. Very, it's ugly, man.
Very. Yeah. I can imagine some of the words that could be said to them.
Oh, yeah.
And now today we see a lot of that coming out now. The African American veteran, they didn't even want to give him a uniform, all right? They didn't want to give him a gun. But they kept insisting that they fight and be provided the things that they need, their bravery. Right. That's what your granddad was involved in, man. The history of our struggle in the military. You know, and now you have people coming out and they looking down their noses at veterans. And veterans are the reason why they are not
have their freedom.
Yeah.
What's next for you guys? We have a lot going on for the veterans since it's Veterans Month this month. Let's start with Sister Elenor.
Oh, well, I'm very heavily involved with my church, and We have a program coming up on Sunday for veterans, and I would like to invite everybody out. It's at Grant AME Church, 1906 Washington. That's in the heart of Roxbury, so you can't miss it. It's right across the street from the park.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what we've got going on right now.
That's Sunday, 11 a.m., 1906 Washington Street, Grant AME. And Brother Haywood, we have a lot going on this month.
I was just looking at Sister Eleanor because she is an integral part of our technical staff.
Yes, she
It's
is.
the Oscar Michaud Family Theater program that I founded in 1997 when I was in a shelter. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for helping us and being a part of our strategy. The Oscar Michaud Family Theater program, and Tyree, you're involved in that. We're going to go up on November the 10th, and we're dedicating this performance to our veterans. We'll be at the Blackstone at 50 West Brookline Street, performing on Renaissance Revisited with a gospel flavor. We'll start a matinee performance at 2 p.m., and on November the 17th, we're doing the same thing. The other thing that we're involved in is the statue, the General Edward Dean Statue Project, and we're raising funds for that. And Tyree, again, we want to acknowledge the work of your grandfather, Ralph Francis Brown, and your grandmother, Mrs. Wilma Brown, as well as other family members for helping us develop a strategic plan that will put this statue in Roxbury to not only honor General Gordine, but also to commemorate the services of our veterans since the American Revolution up until the present day. So, you know, we are doing a lot of things in our community as veterans because veterans are an overlooked and underused community resource. Just sitting here listening to Brother Yancy talk about his work, community service that started while he was in the service. And I would just like to just congratulate him for what he's doing. And at the same time, I need to go and say something regarding substance abuse. Does not define who a person is or who a person can be. Because when I was in prison, I started a veterans organization while I was in prison, trying to consolidate the veterans so that we could get more respect. And instead of going to Shattuck Hospital, try to get them to take us to the VA hospital. Of course, that didn't work. But I'm still involved totally, and I am not going to allow my past to dictate my future. You know, I think I'm making some contribution to our community. And there was a time, like I said earlier, when I didn't want to say I was a veteran. But now I do say I'm a veteran, and you remind me that I'm a veteran. So that's what we do.
And then also, I believe it's every Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays between the hours of 12 to 4 p.m. There's something that's going on at the Strand.
Oh yeah, so much. We have a veterans art exhibit that I commissioned as the founder of Triad Veterans League, and we had these kids from Artists for Humanity. We taught them about veterans, and they did the research, and we came out with 13 pictures that depict the military adventure from the American Revolution up until the Tuskegee Airmen. And thank Susan Rogerson, the director there, as well as Stephen Hamilton, who was the person that coordinated the artists to present these images that you could see at the Strand. The other thing about images is that we are working with the help of Congressman from Worcester, I can't think of his name right now, to get a petition for these paintings to be considered, McGovern, to be considered to become a commemorative stamp series so that we can further educate across the country what we did as a people and as veterans.
I do have of that to show you, because you know, it's not the whole picture by itself, but it's like a little flyer to say to come out to the Strand. There's the picture right there. And then the exhibit will be open tomorrow afternoon tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. during the event that they will be holding down there.
Yes. So that's tomorrow we do our show. They're going to be at the Strand.
We're going to be at the
So
stand.
we have to be there, try to make that.
Oh, yeah, we got to make our stand at the Strand.
Yes.
Hey, Mr. Yancy, how about you?
Well,
What's going
I'm going to be in church Sunday.
on?
That program, as you know, you see me there every Sunday.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, we got to work more with our veterans. Veterans, you need help, give us a call. We all are here for you.
Right.
You pay the cost, and I tell everybody, the veterans in our community have been all over the world. And people have forgot. So when you see a veteran,
You're a veteran.
say thank you
Thank you.
That's right, brother.
and keep on stepping.
That's right.
Tell them the truth all along.
Yep. No matter where they're at,
That's right.
no matter how they look, you serve this country, say thank you and say something.
And I,
Like the saying go, once a soldier, always
that's right. And this gentleman here, I am so proud of him.
Thank you, brother.
Many
Nancy.
years ago, down in the
Thank
Commons,
you, brother.
I see him. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "I'm doing fine." I said, "Keep on stepping."
Yes.
And so I'm really proud of a gentleman like this.
Thank you, brother.
He show us what must be done. If you have problems, there are people out there to help you with your problems. Just keep on stepping.
Right. I want to just quickly thank the committee for the General Edward O. Gordine statue project. We want to thank them for this, taking up this challenge to raise the funds that we are raising. And also we want to thank the William E. Carter American Legion Post leadership, especially Robert Workman, who is a vice chair there, and he's also not the VFW. He's in leadership there. So we want to thank all the veterans. We want people to know that this year we are so grateful to Mrs. Brown and her family for being so tenacious in trying to get this work done. I want to thank you too, Tyree, for your service and work. Even though you weren't in the military, you are of the military.
Very good.
Okay, because you have traveled and lived on military bases, and you have the sensitivity that's required for people to understand that we serve and we deserve to be served. So being here today
That's right.
is an honor. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. And before leaving, I want to say thank you once again. Thank you for everything that you have done for our country
Yes.
and for our other veterans too, because you lift a brother and lift a sister up. Y'all discouraged and encouraged, not discouraged. And our veterans need that in this day of age. We have, I don't know what number 45 out there talking about, I want to serve, I want to help the vets, but is he really helping us, our veterans out here? It's all lip service. But you three and other veterans in this community are out there doing the work to lift our veterans up and give them all support that they need, like my late grandfather Ralph F. Brown tried to do. He worked from morning to night helping and trying to serve these veterans. And that's why I love the veterans so much. Not only being the military brat, not only having my family, like I have veterans all in my family that took care of me when I was younger, but just seeing the work that he did out there, want to help those. I remember when he used to have events over there at Gordine Park, he would have me and my friend, when I was out there, go out there and talk to the veterans out there that was being left behind and tell them to come on, be a part of us. A veteran, you need to be here. And then many veterans did not even know about the event, but they came, left Dudley Station, stopped doing what they was doing, and went to the Gordine Park, and they enjoyed themselves. And now, a few years later, I'd be seeing those same veterans there, and we have a celebration there. So there's work to be done for our veterans out there, and we all need to be out there helping them. Lift the brother up and say thank you for your service. This is going uptown with your Uptown Browne, and I thank you Brother Yancy, Brother Haywood, and Sister Elenor for being my guest. And most of all, like I said before, I want to thank you, all the veterans out there for serving, and the veterans' families too, because we can't forget about families because we are part of their lives.
That's right.
And see you next time on Going Uptown with Uptown Browne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, no, no, yeah, no, no, yeah, no, no.